I thought I was fine after the accident until everything changed. What every accident victim needs to know. Hello, everyone. I'm attorney Fernando López, and today I want to talk about something that happens far more often than most people realize. Every week I speak with individuals who tell me the exact same story. They say, I thought I was okay. I didn't think I was hurt. I didn't think I needed to see a doctor. I didn't think I needed to call an attorney. Then a few days later, or sometimes weeks or even months later, everything changes, the pain begins, their neck becomes stiff, their back starts hurting every morning, they begin having headaches they never had before, their shoulder won't move the same way, their knee suddenly hurts every time they climb stairs. What many people don't realize is that immediately after a collision, your body releases adrenaline and other stress hormones that can temporarily mask pain. That doesn't automatically mean every symptom that appears later was caused by the accident, but it does mean you should never ignore new symptoms after a crash. This is one of the biggest reasons I encourage people to take every accident seriously, even if they believe it was only a minor collision. I understand why people think that way. We all have responsibilities. We have jobs to get back to, children to pick up from school, bills to pay, meetings to attend, and families depending on us. The last thing anyone wants after an accident is to spend time in a doctor's office or think about speaking with an attorney. Most people simply want life to return to normal as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, accidents don't always work that way. Sometimes the injuries are obvious immediately, but many times they are not. That's why today's conversation is so important. I want to answer the questions people search for every single day after an accident. Questions they often ask only after they begin experiencing pain or after they realize they may have made decisions they wish they could change. My goal isn't to scare you. My goal is to help you make informed decisions if you ever find yourself in this situation. Throughout this episode, we're going to discuss delayed pain, delayed medical treatment, insurance companies, documentation, legal deadlines, and whether it's ever too late to ask for legal advice. Most importantly, I want you to understand that asking questions is never a mistake. Even if you think you waited too long, even if you believe you made the wrong decisions after your accident, you still deserve to understand your options. Sometimes one conversation can provide clarity and peace of mind, and that's exactly what I hope this episode does for you. One of the first things people do after a car accident is pull out their phone and start searching the internet. They type questions like, why does my neck hurt 3 days after my accident? Can whiplash show up later? Is it normal for my back to hurt a week after a crash? Should I have gone to the emergency room even if I felt okay? Did I make a mistake by not calling an attorney? These are not unusual questions. In fact, they are some of the most common questions people ask after being involved in an accident because many injuries do not make themselves known immediately. Your body has an incredible way of protecting you during a traumatic event. Adrenaline and other stress hormones can temporarily reduce your awareness of pain, allowing you to focus on getting yourself and your loved ones to safety. Once those hormones begin to wear off, sometimes hours later and sometimes days later, that's when people begin to notice stiffness, headaches, soreness, numbness, tingling, limited range of motion, or pain that simply wasn't there before. That doesn't necessarily mean every symptom is directly related to the accident, which is why it's so important to be evaluated by a qualified medical professional instead of trying to diagnose yourself through internet searches or by listening to advice from friends and family. Another question I hear all the time is, I didn't think the accident was serious because there wasn't much damage to my vehicle. Can I still be injured? The answer is that the amount of damage to a vehicle does not always reflect the amount of force experienced by the people inside. Every collision is different. Every vehicle is different. Every person responds differently. Two people can be sitting in the same vehicle during the same accident and walk away with completely different injuries. Age, prior medical conditions, seating position, seat belt use, and the direction of the impact can all influence how someone's body reacts during a crash. That's why you should never compare your situation to someone else's or assume you're fine simply because another person involved in the accident wasn't hurt. People also ask, what if I started feeling pain a month later? Or what if 6 months have passed and now my neck hurts every morning? These are understandable concerns, and while no one can determine the cause of those symptoms without a proper medical evaluation, it's important not to ignore them. If you've begun experiencing pain after an accident, the first step is to seek appropriate medical care and explain your history to your healthcare provider. Medical professionals are trained to evaluate your symptoms, determine possible causes, and recommend the appropriate treatment or testing if necessary. The sooner you begin documenting those symptoms, the easier it becomes to create an accurate medical history that reflects what you're experiencing. Another mistake people often make is assuming that because the insurance company called them quickly, everything will be handled fairly. Insurance adjusters have a job to do, and while many are professional and courteous, it's important to remember that their role is different from yours. They are evaluating a claim on behalf of the insurance company, while your priority should be protecting your health and understanding your legal rights. That's why I always encourage people to be careful about making assumptions, giving recorded statements without understanding the process, or accepting a quick settlement before they fully understand the extent of their injuries. Once certain agreements are finalized, it may be difficult or even impossible to seek additional compensation later if new medical issues arise. Every case is different, which is why asking questions before making important decisions is always a smart idea. Perhaps the most important message I want to leave you with in this part of our conversation is this: never let embarrassment keep you from asking for help. I meet people every year who tell me they were afraid to call because they thought they had waited too long, they thought they had made too many mistakes, or they believed no one would be able to help them anymore. The truth is that every situation deserves an individual evaluation. You lose nothing by asking questions, and one conversation with an experienced attorney may help you better understand your options, your responsibilities, and the next steps you should consider taking. Sometimes people don't need a lawsuit, sometimes they simply need reliable information. That's why education is such an important part of what we do, because when people understand the process, they're able to make better decisions for themselves and for their families. One of the biggest mistakes people make after an accident is waiting too long to take action. They wait to see a doctor because they hope the pain will disappear. They wait to report new symptoms because they don't want to miss work. They wait to gather photographs because they think they'll remember everything later. They wait to speak with an attorney because they believe the insurance company will do the right thing. Unfortunately, waiting can make things much more difficult. Evidence can disappear, witnesses can become harder to locate, memories begin to fade, and the connection between your injuries and the accident may become more challenging to document. That's why it's always better to ask questions early rather than assume everything will work itself out. Even if your injuries seem minor, taking photographs, keeping copies of medical records, saving receipts, and writing down how you feel each day can become extremely valuable later. Many people tell me they wish someone had explained these simple steps immediately after their accident because they had no idea how important they could become. The good news is that if you've already made some of these mistakes, it doesn't automatically mean your situation is hopeless. Every case is different, and that's exactly why speaking with an experienced attorney can help you understand what options may still be available and what steps you should take moving forward. Another question I hear very often is, what if my accident happened months ago? Is it too late to call an attorney? The answer is that every case is different, and the only way to know is to ask. I've spoken with people who waited several months because they honestly believed they would recover on their own. Others were busy with work, taking care of their families, or simply didn't realize how serious their injuries had become. Then one day they wake up with constant neck pain, lower back pain, or shoulder pain that refuses to go away. If this sounds familiar, don't assume you've lost every opportunity to seek legal guidance. There may still be options available depending on the facts of your case. The most important thing is not to make that decision on your own. Let an experienced attorney evaluate your situation, answer your questions, and explain what steps, if any, can still be taken to protect your rights. Many people believe that hiring an attorney automatically means filing a lawsuit, but that's not always the case. Sometimes the most valuable thing an attorney can do is simply provide guidance. We can help you understand the claims process, explain what documents you should keep, communicate with insurance companies when appropriate, and answer questions that you may not even know you should be asking. If you've already spoken with the insurance company, accepted medical treatment, or even feel like you've made mistakes after your accident, don't assume no one can help you. Every situation is unique, and a conversation with an attorney may provide clarity that gives you confidence about what to do next. The goal is not to create unnecessary conflict. The goal is to help you make informed decisions while protecting your interests. One lesson I've learned throughout my career is that no two accidents are exactly alike. I've met people who walked away from what looked like a serious crash without major injuries, and I've also met people who experienced significant pain after what appeared to be a relatively minor collision. That's why you should never compare your case to someone else's or assume your situation isn't important. Listen to your body, follow your doctor's recommendations, keep records of your treatment, and don't ignore symptoms simply because they didn't appear immediately. The decisions you make during the days and weeks following an accident can have a lasting impact on both your recovery and your ability to understand your legal options. Asking questions early is always better than wishing you had asked them later. As we finish today's conversation, I want you to remember one simple message. Never assume that because you feel fine immediately after an accident, everything is okay. Pay attention to your body, seek medical care if new symptoms develop, keep good documentation, and don't hesitate to ask questions about your legal rights. Even if weeks or months have passed, it's worth speaking with an attorney before deciding that nothing can be done. At Lopez Law Group, we understand that an accident affects much more than a vehicle. It affects your health, your family, your finances, and your peace of mind. That's why our team is committed to treating every client with honesty, compassion, and respect. When you come to our office, you're not just another case file. You become part of our family. If you or someone you love has been injured in an accident and you have questions about your situation, we're here to listen, explain your options, and guide you every step of the way. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, share this video with someone who may benefit from it, and remember, the right information at the right time can make all the difference. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.